Hello. Good afternoon. Possibly good evening. My name is Drinksloo. I am joined this afternoon and by Gar. A little unorthodox what we're doing this afternoon. We are doing a live bod review, but we're also doing a little play-by-play action with we have Cirrus's bod. On your left, we will have Gar, Mega Elixir Champion Gar, by the way,
Hello.
playing the Ultros Underground live on the right, giving his insight, also checking out what Ceres Rose is doing, and doing a little VOD review action while we do so. So, with that in store, with that in mind, Gar, how are you doing this lovely afternoon?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Glue, and thanks for helping me do this VOD review. This is going to be, like you said, a little unorthodox, but I think it's going to be super helpful. And yeah, I'm excited to do this.
Give me 1 second. We lost your video, but let's get it back.
Oh no, my video.
There we go. There we go. We gotta cut out the good-looking part, but we'll get just the gameplay in here.
Yeah.
All right. Easy enough. So just to recap, what type of flags, what we're doing, what we got going on. This is the Ultros Underground, so it's this week's Ultros Underground, which a lot of people do every week, and most people usually are done by now. But if by chance you were going to run it this week, don't look at those character sprites. Get out of here. You saw nothing. Best of luck in your run. But if you have already run it, or if you're just watching for the VOD review in general, stick around. So again, Ultros League flags. Pretty good guy here to have doing a side by side for you. Because as we mentioned, Gar was this past season's Mega Elixir champion, and there's no bracket above Mega Elixir, unfortunately. So, Gar, what is your approach to an Ultras League seed?
Well, a lot of it depends on the starting characters and maybe even more importantly, their starting abilities.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a throw start, for example, I am much more likely to just loot a little bit, just enough to get some skeins online and some earrings, and then go. If I have some characters that are, that maybe they don't have great abilities or uh, like they're pretty linear, then I'll probably take my time a little bit. I want to make sure that I get some, at least some passable offense going before I really start leaning into the seed. So yeah, and a lot of the times I just formulate my plan within like the first 30 seconds of a seed,
Mm-hmm.
and then during my looting, I kind of start to solidify things, and and it also depends on what I find, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
I open up 5 chests and get 3 Illuminas and 2 EXP eggs, I can basically stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing else that I could possibly get.
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
very good point. Not all
yeah,
loot is created equal. So sometimes you go to Narsh, sometimes you're like, man, I'm done. Sometimes you go to Narsh and you're like, man, I need to go 5 more places. And that's just kind of like a scope of knowing what your abilities, what you did find, and whatnot. I have peeked Cirrus's video just a little bit. I'm gonna when we get to it, there's something I'm gonna call out or point out. But like again, my personal approach is like I've been playing this enough that like if I have like a somebody asked, actually I think it was serious in the beginner channel last day, like when do you go do the lone wolf check when you start with Mog? And it's like
yeah,
in the
that's
back of my mind, like if I have Terra, Celeste, or Terra and Edgar, or like Edgar and Locke and Mog, or some combination of those, there's no chance in that's not the type of combination you want to go up there and do it because you have two fantastic starting checks already. One is even kind of like peekable, I guess you could say.
yeah.
But when you have stuff like Mod, Go Go, Strago, other awful starting checks with nothing really going on, that's when it becomes more enticing, right?
Yeah, so we'll see what kind of start we get. If I do have a Terra start, that is basically like the hard lock. I just immediately go to Imperial Camp. I don't think I ever deviate. It's what 13 chests in that house that are very densely packed together. It's
Mm-hmm.
you can't not do it, and uh, you might as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, but otherwise, yeah. I've gotten in the habit of starting in Narish too, especially if Mog is there, or even if Mog is there. It's a little bit of time lost relative to just uh, waiting on Narish before you're ready to do Mog checks. But
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's still worth. You loot the house, you can go ahead and get a little bit of Lone Wolf on his way. You check the shops there. It's not too bad.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say Lone Wolf's like the only like awkward like Gogo's in the like Gogo's check and the Phoenix Escape check. I kind of chuck it up to that like if I start, either I do it right away or I never touch it because it's like
Right.
really it's really awkward to do like Gogo Zonier when he's a starting character at like the 40-minute mark. And if the
Yeah.
seed says, you know what, it's great at Zonier, whatever, it got you. Those small chances will get you. So if you do it, you kind of want to do it early. And it's also kind of predicated on having warp zones. So sometimes I'll let the seed tell me, hey, you got warp zones, go do Go Zonier, you dummy. But Lone Wolf kind of like is different than that in that like you can kind of do it early or you can do it later, and it's okay to do it later, unlike Phoenix Cave or Zonier, in that it's kind of it's 2-1, and then second, the routing point puts you back down like right next to the next one. And usually when you do
Right.
it later in the seed, your offense has come online enough that like it's no big deal to go, you don't have to go heal. You have enough MP or you found enough good stuff that you don't need an immediate free heal. Because that type of stuff doesn't apply at level 30. It applies more at like level 7, 8, 12, 15, or whatever. So if you don't do Lone Wolf, it's not like you're saying I'll never do it. It's saying that maybe I'll do it later or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, talked a lot. Less talk, more action. Are you ready to get going, my friend?
Let's do it.
All right. You can go ahead and hit start, and then I'll get the video to line up when you
All
get
right.
going on the
Yeah.
stream.
So a little bit of countdown. How about three and two and one and
How
go?
about 17, 18? Okay, never mind. I'm
No.
kidding.
All right. So there's that start that we were just talking about.
Yeah. All right, there we go. So I'm actually going to come hop over to your stream for 1 second because the video and your stream are coming through at different times, so that way our audio lines up. So give me one moment.
All right. No worries.
I do want to point out this is one of the things I mentioned when I kind of peeked Sarissa Rose video. We're going right now. They're going through the rage menu. In Ultros League, I think it's what 30. It's a very large number of rages that you start
It's like
with.
yeah, it's like 30 to 50.
Yeah.
It's a fair number.
So you're not. So we're just past the 40-second mark. Um, and we are just now going out. When you start with rage, just always assume you will need earrings. It's always going to be
Yeah.
earrings, even if you're doing trickster for fire too. That benefits off earrings. If you happen to see you have stray cat, that's fine. But stray cat is 1 out of 255, and so is gold bear. Um, Always just assume you need earrings. We can easily spend a few minutes in there going through trying to see what they all do and don't do. If you are at the level where you're comfortable enough to do some stray cat, I mean not stray cat, but just rage in general, just assume you need earrings and go in that way because there's always going to be something in there that's magic based that you can at least use.
Yeah, almost certainly. There's only, like you said, there's only a handful of rages where Atlas Armor actually matters. Stray Cat's one of them. Gold Bear, one of them. What's the bogey that does Oogie Boog?
Hmm.
And then yeah, there's a handful that do
Yeah, all
like
the
1.5
rats like
times.
in Scissor or whatever.
Yeah, but a lot of them are either status based, like they'll inflict the status effect, or it's magic based. So yeah, um, you want earrings for dance, or excuse me, for rage. You also want them for dance though.
Yeah. You also want
Probably
dancing
even more so for
shoes, but
dance.
that's a different thing.
I don't know how to dance. I'm very poor at it.
Okay, I got your stream up. It's a little farther ahead, so our audio will come through a little more lined up. Got that muted. All right, so we found realm. How does that much change everything that we're going to do and not do?
Well, it opens up um, World of Ruin Jador as a possible opening grind plus check. There's at least 2 fixed encounters there. You can make it a lot more if you really want to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm kind of looking at that being my first check. That's normally what I do, but I'm also feeling kind of frisky. It could be Leap River. I haven't done a whitewater rafting adventure in quite a while.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about Owser's opening, I know it's down there in the close to the bottom left part of the map, kind of out of the way, is that it is technically peakable. Leet River, you have to save and go all the way through, and you either complete it to get your progress, or you don't. You have to reset and revert back to a previous save point. Um, Owser's, you can entirely see the reward, well, at least the important part of the reward. Is it a character or is it an Esper? If it's not a character, you can know that you never have to come back there. So if it's a good
Yeah,
Esper, that's a bummer, but whatever. But sometimes, it's if you're running the Magi Master at Owser's, you reset and you walk out. If you're running the Magi Master early at Leet River, you reset and you just reset and go to another previous save. So all that progress you may have did or didn't get is all reverted, and you're essentially back at square one. Was a total time loss. Whereas Owser,
yeah,
you eat some time loss, right? But it's not a 100% time loss.
yeah. It's not horrible if you get walled um, at Owser's. It's really horrible if you get walled at uh, 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 Leet River. The same way it's horrible if you get walled at
That's all if you get walled
FC1
anywhere. Yeah.
or FC3. Yeah.
But not all walls are as punishing. Burning House kind of applies to the same thing as Elite River or at Opera House to an extent. Um, at least in Elite River, you have access to some save points. In Burning House and Opera House, you don't. It's do or die. Um, and the reason I feel that way, and the reason I stand by that, is like you're at your most vulnerable when you're like level 3 to 12.
Yep.
Even if you have spells, you can't cast them multiple times. You don't. If any defense ignoring offense that you have access to, like fixed sites, is really mitigated by your lack of levels. Same thing with your Valiant Knife. At weapon, you can't even enter the discussion at level 10. So all of the things that are like get out of jail free cards and solve all of the bosses don't apply to you yet. So you're predicated on things like Rage and Fire 2 and Ice 3 and some other things. The thing that in past Ultros League seeds that would break the game for your Super Balls, and they're not here. Well, they can't be an item chest or whatever, but if at best you have one, right, and then even that's really low odds. So it is, oh my goodness, an Illumina. But that you're so at risk that to commit that time this early, it can turn a lot of runs south a lot faster than most people realize.
Oh yeah. A question on my mind right now is: do I take an intentional knock from this bridge troll? And I think I am. That was definitely intentional. There's no way I did that on accident. But I am rewarded, so Ice Shield is super nice,
Yeah.
especially with that X Magic Realm on the table. She's got like 53 starting magic power.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Ice 2 isn't great. It's not like what you want to end the seed with, but that'll get you through the early mid game totally fine.
I like your point about how you're gonna let the bridge toll knock you off there. I always on my first attempt trying to get through, like when you come here early, just go for it. Just full send it, right? If he's even halfway to the left, just go and try it. And if you get through, great, that's fantastic. If he knocks you down the first time, you get those two chests down there. Sometimes they're an ice shield, sometimes they're goggles, and it's a big old whatever. The second
Yeah.
time when those chests don't exist anymore, that's when you want to kind of be able to more of a sure thing.
Yeah, you definitely want to take your time the second time around.
All right, so just to
Ooh,
recap, Sirius has just found their realm. Gar has passed his bridge trolls. We have been raided by Moogleplex. Moogleplex, my dog, thank you so much for the raid. We
hey,
appreciate you.
Googleplex.
What ability of the Realm Helm, by the way?
X Magic.
Beautiful. What are your
Oh.
what are your thoughts on X Magic in general?
Generally speaking, it's a trap. Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes it's useful. I would never equip a gem box to get it, but like if a high magic power character like Realm just has it, then I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's important to remember with X Magic that you are susceptible to counters in between it. That's really useful things on like tier 3 of Final Kefka, or even like things in between like Poltergeist, who does a lot of fire-based counterattacks when you come across them. It may seem like it's acting the same way as Quick, but you can be countered attack, and sometimes when you have that kind of character like a Cyan, and you're like, oh great, I can Ice 2 on this Poltergeist back to back, and all you really do is make him mad and get your Cyan killed.
Yep. But Cyan deserves it, so
Yeah, it's
not the end of the world. I skipped this relic shop earlier. I am going to check it. I'm kind of looking for a gauntlet. Not a huge deal if I don't get it, and I don't.
All right.
But I have an EXP egg. I have an Illumina.
All right, so Ceres is trying to take a boss fight at level 3.
Can't really ever recommend that.
No, and here's the thing. This is Ultros 1. This is, of all the boss fights, this is actually probably, like, it's in the top 5 you would want to say where this is my favorite boss fight, like you want to see for as far as ease of battle standpoint. And we just went through it in 4 turns, right? But we're fortunate to get through it, and that's one of the top 5. Unfortunately, there's like 30 other bosses there. We're at level 3. That's no bueno. Bosses at level 3 without super balls are a bad idea. Just a general
a risk.
Just generally risk. Even if they go fast and you get through them, they can easily turn into a slog where you're trying to out heal what it is doing to you or not doing to you. And then plus everything that you do from a damage standpoint is amplified by your levels, whether it's magical, physical, or even breaking a rod. Like if you come back with Fire 2 on that X Magic Realm in like 20 minutes, that fight takes 2 turns. We got through it pretty comfortably, really comfortably actually, because we got fortunate with our Strapinals. But yeah, I guess it's not a good example because we got through it. Oh my goodness, you have an experience egg.
Yeah, this is a pretty phenomenal opening.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. We got experience egg. I think we got Illumina. We got this wonderful version of Realm.
Okay, yep, that's what I wanted. Alright, so basically done. I think the only thing I'm missing are sleeping bags. But they are not super critical at this juncture.
All right, let's talk about that experience egg a little bit. We already have access to an Illumina. Let's pretend that Illumina doesn't exist and we don't have it. Are you still putting that experience egg on Terra, and why?
The answer is yes, and it's because I want... I want to be able to, like, if I find an Illumina later in the seed, I want to be able to go ahead and make it so that Terra is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Terra's equip pool is super good. There's no reason not to do it. Like,
yeah.
The only other, like, at this point, the only other one you can consider is Realm, because she has X Magic, but because levels impact physical damage much more than they impact magical damage, it's always a better idea to give it to a potential future damage dealer.
Yeah, very true. If you don't have, like, I call them the big 4, or it's Terra, Egger, Celeste, and Locke, because they can wear the Illuminas at the Weapons of Ragnaroks, and all 3 of those exist in the item pool and Ultros League. So that's 3 chances out of 19 every time you get a dead Trek or a Dragon, or you do the Zen Thief or whatever, and it's not an Esper to get one of those. So it's a good assumption. Like, I don't know the exact odds, but like you always seem to end up at least one of those 3. in an Ultros League seed. So you could benefit in the short term by putting on that realm. Like if that realm's like level 13 and everybody else is level 9 or whatever. Some of these early fights go a little faster. But the way the levels is calculated in the physical damage formula is it's multiplied twice. So you benefit so much more as your levels progress and advance with your physical damage. So having one of those big four and even not having access to the sword yet, especially Terror Celeste because they're the second and fourth highest default magic users in the game, or magic stat users, benefiters in the game. That if you don't ever find a big weapon, well, now you got a really high level, one of the best mages in the game anyways.
Oh yeah.
On the left side of the screen, we are not respecting this opponent. These fellas, this door and the skybase, they can throw out some nasty things at you. I know they give a lot of experience, but unless you can one-shot them, get out of there. You may make it through this, but
yeah, and that's why I just spoke
Yeah.
out of it. Skybase in particular, like the duelers are fine. Like if I just got duelers by themselves, I would consider just taking it. But blaster, pew pew pew,
yeah,
not
and
fun.
we're seeing part of the reason why right there. But I always like anything that can level magic you. Even like a solo target Acrophos. The Acrophos from Floating Continent can appear in one formation. If you ever unless you get a preemptive or you can one shot it, get out of there. Because Acrophos and can do any of the level abilities when they're alone. So you don't really notice that when you're fighting with brain pans or whatever, or the goblins of that sprite when they're fighting with their friends. But if you can't one-shot it, get out of there. I know we got through that fight right there, but we also ate a level 5 Doom, and fortunately we're the right level. But level 5 Doom wasn't even one of the things that were on the scariest that could happen to us there. Yeah, Doom Dragon, unless you have like, an absolutely amazing character. Doom Dragons, the Dueler Sky Bases, Entangers. Well, Entangers, if you're fighting Entangers, you probably have something else going on that you're trying to do. What else is under that category? Madam Outsiders, same thing. Well, everybody knows to run from those, but
Madam Outsider is...
It's like the Entanger or the Wall to Ruin. If you're fighting it, you're trying to prove a point.
It is one of the most terrifying encounters that you could ever run up against.
Yeah. Ogres, anything that can obnoxiously zombie you.
Yeah, Ogres, the Orogs can do it. Orogs are a little bit easier because they're undead, so you can revivify them. But like they're still able to zombite you, and they can do it up to twice per turn.
Dark Force as well. Ooh, that's a Valiant Knife. This is the Berry Giving Seed. Yeah, I know technically you can get through an Orog just fine. Like say you have all Mirage Vest or whatever, or you have a character that's doing an Octo Valiant Knife for a lot of damage. But like the enemy's ATBs get shuffled as well, and if you get an unfortunate shuffle where an Orog or a Skybase comes out with a level 5 Doom before you even get a chance to act, the chance is small, but the chance is whatever you want to put it at. Like say it's 5% of a chance of an Orog getting a really quick ATB and then zombiting the wrong character at the wrong time. It's down there on the barometer if you were to put it down and lay out some odds, but it's not zero and it's substantial in that it exists. So to leave the fate of your run or the fate of a backbreaking time loss to things like that, doing it once or twice in a run tends to not backfire. But when you're consistently doing it over time, those 5, 7, 12% chances that you think nothing of, they hit, and when they hit, the detriment far outweighs the reward for not ignoring those.
Yeah.
Pood's making a great point. Ninjas are also scaly. So are Rayman. If you're level 3, run from Rayman. Fun fact about Gar, when he did his 57, was it like 57, 15 or whatever? You did
Something, yeah.
you fast son of a gun. You wiped the Rayman twice at level 3.
Uh,
Um,
No, it was just the once, but
oh,
the second time was very close to a win.
yeah. So like Rayman,
They are not to be trifled with.
yeah, there's just some enemies out there that just don't mess around, and part of that too, Rayman kind of fall under a different umbrella of why they're not as scary as Acrophos. The way ability scaling works is that there are some elements, whereas there's plenty of fire abilities in Final Fantasy VI. So the way ability scaling works is that um, the idea is that when you're fighting lower little enemies, when you're fighting Poltergeist, he's not going to be fire 3 or murdering you. He's going to be doing things like blaze or fire, lower level fire spells. But some elements don't have low level abilities. Like the low level water spell is Aqua Rake, or it's Acid Rain, and that's something that happens in the vanilla game after you have Espers. So it's designed to like be threatening to you when you're like level 15. So when you're level 3, 6, 7, it's gonna kill you, right? It's just
Yeah.
taking into account that it's something you find later in the game, and there is nothing in the game that Worlds Collide can shoe in so that you're not eating a mid-game spell. You just have to eat. You just eat a mid-game spell, and that's all Rayman can do. They're not a scary vanilla thing. That's just the script says that's what I do. That's all I can do. So you're gonna eat it.
Yeah. And that is terrifying. Uh, so, like, a lot of this game is knowing about, like, what enemies can do what and adjusting accordingly.
Yeah, Pearl and Poison kind of fall on the same thing. Pearl, there's only 2 AoE Pearl spells. Hey, that's a Ragnarok. But Pearl, it's only level Pearl Scarbeam, and I don't know the exact coding or whatever you want to call it for this, but it seems like level Pearl, or Scarbeam is either or at the level 1 ability scaling, and then Scarbeam is one of those things too. It's actually a World of Ruin ability until you see it. So if you have something that's doing a Pearl AE, like um, the White Dragon at level 3, well, you can't survive it unless you can negate it.
Right. That's a very unfortunate Magi Master placement there, so I'm going to lose a couple of minutes from resetting. But, like, if I stick that fight out, it is not likely I'm going to succeed.
I would say that's a very, I wouldn't say good ability or acquired trait. Recognizing when a fight is unwinnable, and it almost becoming a race to the reset button, rather than sticking it through for 30 seconds and then coming to that realization.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know if that's right, because technically I can kill him with shrapnel, but I decided to reset, and if you're gonna commit, you gotta commit, right? If you're gonna go, you go all the way, and if you're gonna reset instantly.
Mm-hmm. All right, so just to loop you through what series has going on, it looks like they are at the same amount of characters. They're about to come across their Magi Master. They took out Poltergeist at, I want to say, down somewhere where you may go later in a mine.
No.
Don't let that impact your decision making. Go down there and feed them if you want to. But they were able to get through it. Yeah, this seed has been cool. In that we got a Valiant Knife for a dead check, we got a Snow Muffler, and then we got something else. When you get dead checks early, I find that really emboldens me. And what I mean by that is that it sucks. I'd rather have the progression I need to go beat the game, but like when you get your Luminous earlier, when you get them at the 12-minute mark, the 18-minute mark, that means you've had them for longer than if you get them at the end of the game. So dead checks early can kind of like leapfrog you. A, past the scaling. B past whatever level capabilities or level offense that your opponents are currently stuck with.
Yeah. So what a choice right here, and it looks like I made the wrong one. So normally in that situation, I would grab the Illumina, and it wouldn't be particularly close. But here, because I've already got one, I was like, let me just go ahead and get this other thing. It could be an Esper, and I would love an Esper, especially for Realm, because my plan for her is for her to cast big spells. But unfortunately, did not pan out there, so yeah. But I will be getting that Illumina in the World of Ruin sooner rather than later.
Also, it's kind of one of those things where the second Illumina, it's diminishing returns because you have the one Illumina. That's fantastic. We found Ragnarok's downstairs. We have a Valiant Knife. We have a very capable Realm. We may want that second Illumina, but having all this amazing stuff early, it's kind of like, do we really need the fourth person swinging an Inferior Illumina?
Yeah.
Sirius pointing out that they walked past the Welk spot. No shame in that. I think it was one of the Kefka Grand Prix weeks. I had Celeste. I think it was one of the barter weeks where I was like, man, I'm not going to do the basement. I'm rather spend this time visiting shops with barter seeds or whatever. Your time is better spent visiting shops, and I like hard grained that into my brain. And then we had a Celeste start, and I forgot to go to the basement, and I realized it like at the 15-minute mark, and I go down there, and it's a Magic Power +2 Esper.
Oh no!
And I'm like, this is an event I won. I'm an idiot. We're all idiots, technically.
Yeah, like everybody. The thing to realize is that everybody is going to make mistakes. Yeah. Like sometimes you just have a bad day. Sometimes it's not even really a mistake, right?
Yeah.
You have a choice between two equally good checks. You choose one that leads you down a rabbit hole. When if you chose the other one, you would have been done.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you do what you can. So I'm pretty sure my party is set now. Celeste is going to have a job momentarily.
Is there anything you could find from a character standpoint that would force you to pivot to another character if you could cherry pick your next character and their next ability?
Like maybe a Magitech user, but even then, only if I had access to some kind of magic power Esper. You know, Tech Missile is extremely strong, and I do like that, especially because, like even without a magic power Esper, it'll just solve a seed for you. But here, because I've got a huge magic power realm. I've got one Illumina user, and I'm gonna have a second basically as soon as I'm done here. And like a Ragnarok swinger, like the seed is basically done, right? So now all I've got to do is, you know, just get my Espers and my levels and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going back to like it's like kind of like self-realization or self-reflection, whatever you want to call it. It applies to can I win this fight? Should I reset right away? It also kind of applies to, is the seed solved? Do I have enough to beat the game? Do I need to loot more? Do I need to go to Miranda to shop more because I want to find a Ragnarok shop? No, I already found them. I already got all this amazing stuff, so now it's just honing into, do I even need to check?
Go to Miranda.
Yeah, there's always money in the Miranda stand. But it even comes down to a point to where I don't even need to check Esters anymore. I have access to Ultima and Fire 3 on Realm. There's no other spell I could put on her that I think benefits me. There's nothing that you can really, Ice 3 that you can't slap with an Illumina, or you wouldn't want to slap with an Illumina, or a Ragnarok or a Valiant Knife that you already have. Right. The only thing, it would be like, I wish it was a better stat stick. I wish it was Strength +2 instead of Strength +1, or Magic +2 instead of Magic +1. So it just looks like this week's Ultros Underground was very giving, no matter which way you did or didn't go.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that. Oh, I didn't even see that she had control. Control is, it's fine, The problem is that it, as of right now, it's kind of outlived its usefulness.
Yeah, you shouldn't be taking any more fixed encounters unless like the seed trolls you and you have to go through Opera House at this point in time to get to the requirements to get the game or to beat the game.
Yeah. And so my plan right now is basically go pick up my Illumina, go take advantage of the free check that I'll have in South Figueroa Basement, and then go ahead and wipe out MTech.
Are there any checks you would say that you favor more end game guard than would you say that you would prefer to do earlier rather than later?
Generally, I like to save my quicker, like peekable checks. Like, there's a fairly defensible argument that Esper Mountain, for example, basically just a minute of running to the boss and then killing it. There's a decent argument that you can save that for later and you just knock that out really quick. But here, because I have so few Espers and I am trying to get my realm online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of the free checks right now just to get my early power going. It's kind of in the wrong order.
If you didn't know, Schwantz, who by the way is in chat, good looking fella, great guy.
Hi, Schwantz.
Anyway, Schwantz calls it like the seed is deeper than it is wider. Or maybe it's wider than it is deeper. I don't know. But anyway, the point he tries to make and elaborate on is that there are 63 checks, and we have to put all those Espers somewhere and all those characters somewhere. And once you find those characters in your starting Espers or starting characters checks, Espers tend to get fill out the rest of those because we have to put the rest of the characters somewhere and everything somewhere to fill out the rest of the seed, right? There's 63 checks. We got to put all those Illuminas and offerings and experience eggs you don't find somewhere. So when you're kind of like running through your checks, understand that like if you've gone down a line of new character checks and got all of your Esper or all of your characters and you're at a point to where you don't need characters anymore, circle back to your starting characters and knock those out logically if you can in an efficient way, because those are where your Espers are more likely to be. Or what Sirius is doing right here I really like is coming down here to the Magic Deck Factory. We got 5 characters, we got unlimited power. This is a great time to come do this, so let's go find some Espers and kind of start honing in on what we need, because we have a few good checks about the time we started this discussion of what checks we're going to start doing. The thing with Terra is Terra has 2 really cool checks and then 3 that suck. Well, two that suck and then 1 that's peekable.
Yeah.
Zozo is really long. Elite River is really long. Celeste Opera House is really long. So we could back ourselves up into a corner to where we have to start trying to decide, do we want to do these really, really long checks or do we want to get out of here and commit to something else?
Yeah. So, like Celeste, if you get her early enough, you basically always want to do the entirety of MTech, and that's my next destination.
Mm-hmm. Right, so you walked through the basement, and I don't think there's much you haven't found that Series hasn't found, and vice versa. You skipped everything in the basement, while as Series went through and got everything. That alone is going to count for like 25 second-ish of starting time. So let me ask you this, Gar. What could have been in that basement that you walked through and skipped that would have, like if I could give you the spoiler like right now, what would need to be in those chests that you would stop and go out of your way to get all of them?
Eggs. It's just like it's eggs, and like maybe some elemental protection. Maybe if there's a Minerva or something down there. Both Terra and Celeste can wear it naturally, and it's a phenomenal piece of equipment. Elemental shield, I also wouldn't say no to.
We already have the 1 egg, right? And we got that from a chest.
Yeah, that was like very, very early on.
Okay.
That was Imperial camp basement.
Okay. So there are 255 items in Worlds Collide. In Ultros League, we take 80% of them. We say, of all the items that exist in vanilla chest, we shuffle those up. And of those, there's like 2 of every elemental shield. There's 2 Minervas. There's a couple Aegis shields. There's a red jacket. I think there's 2 red jackets. And there's 1
I thought it was just
experience
the
egg.
one.
Yeah. I think the other one you get from Coliseum. Anywho,
Oh yeah, maybe.
there's 1 egg. We already found 1 egg. So the odds of there being a second egg in a chest somewhere are incredibly low. It's like 0.02% chance for every chest we open for an egg to have to be shuffled into it, assuming the egg that we got was the egg from Daryl's tomb in the vanilla game. It's entirely possible that it could be the egg we got was a shuffled egg, and Daryl's tomb egg is still out there. But it's so low that I would comfortably bet you $100 at 10-to-1 odds that you'll never find another egg in a chest every time you've already found one, and I would be a very rich person. Every once in a while, I'll have to pay you $100. That's fine, but somewhere for every time I have to pay you $100, I'm going to be raking bank, and I'm going to buy a bunch of Pokemon cards with that money. Anywho,
Pokemon over Magic the Gathering?
oh yeah, I tried Magic, wasn't for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, my retirement is 1/3 pension, 1/3 stock, 1/3 Pokemon cards, by the way. But that's another story for another day. Yeah, you have to like cherry pick, and then once you kind of start to understand those odds of what could be in there, same apply for Illumina and Ragnarok. So if you're saying I need offense from chest, you don't get offense from chest in Ultras League. You can find an Illumina in a chest. You can find a Ragnarok. You're more likely to find fixed dice because there's a fixed dice in a chest in Kefka's Tower. That's going to be shuffled more often than not. Yeah, find offense from dragons or dead checks.
Yeah, like at this point, if I hadn't found any good offense, it would have definitely been I go and hunt a couple of dragons.
But to answer your point, like if let's say we needed like we had 3 submergent protection, we had Merton, or we just needed defense in general. Defense is another discussion, but if you wanted defense or elemental protection, then yeah, that's entirely perfectly fine to keep opening some chests or even just open the not out of the way chest. And even if you have defense and offense, or maybe you wanted a little more defense, I personally just think 1 piece of high tier defensive equipment on every character is fine. If that's a red jacket, that's great. If it's a Hema suit, that's fine. If it's a flame shield and then someone else has ninja gear, whatever, that's usually good enough for Ultras League, in my opinion. But in that scenario, if you wanted to, stab at some, that's fine. Or at least the really not far out of the way ones. But if you're going the chest out of far out of the way, at the 35-minute mark, hoping to find offense or anything that doesn't exist in vanilla chest and vanilla Final Fantasy VI, you're gonna waste a lot of time, a lot of the time.
Yep, 100% agreed with that. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into Kefka's Tower wearing, leather armor. It's just sometimes you got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you get really bleak situations where everybody has world of balance pre Kefka and Narsh fight, armor. And those situations just suck, but those situations can be solved by opening a few more chests, and that's fine. But again, all this amazing stuff so far. That's 25 seconds that kind of that you gotta have a series right there, and that 25-second can get evaporated instantly. Whether you happen to run in the Doom Gaze, or you eat a level 5 Doom, or not like the Doom Gaze, but the Doom Gaze spot, or the level 5 Doom, or you go to a dead check someone else doesn't. Whatever. But it's the mind frame that you make that decision. You make that decision technically a dozen times throughout the seed. So let's go back to the beginning of the seed when we were scavenging through the rage menu. I think we started the seed technically at 45 seconds after Cerise added out of that. For a new player, I get it if you don't have the access to the rages.
Yeah.
Or if
you're a new player, I would say, by all means, take some
Yeah.
time to look at the rage menu. But what you really want to do is start memorizing rages.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually you'll get to the point where you memorize like all the relevant ones.
Yeah. And series has come along. I know they're I wouldn't say newish anymore, but they joined the community in the past fall. And they're ascending fast. So we don't like. I'm not trying to. I know Sirius is in the chat. I'm not trying to say you don't know any rages and then you need to go study the 255 rages right now. I'm not trying to say that.
I
I'm
don't
trying
have
to.
all of them memorized. That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah, you have to be a sick freak to know that Mage Rotor does mute. Anywho, not saying go learn them all. I'm just saying I'm personally looking for things to save you time. Because kind of like it gets to a point to like everybody knows Illuminas are good. Everybody knows Gauntlet and Illumina is very strong, and it kind of comes down to like um, just where can you find areas to improve. You can't smash the attack button faster than anybody, but you can choose what you do and don't do, and cut out some things that way.
yeah.
We just took down a Yamaro. That's a crime against
I had to
humanity.
do it.
Yeah, and
I couldn't not do it. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's a little sad about what's about to happen next, but I'll get over it. All right, so Sirius is going back for their Magi Master. So I think we mentioned that we had just walked past it. No big deal. We all make brain farts. I think Sirius will be more than capable of this Magi Master or for this Magi Master.
Yep, and that's where I'm headed.
All right, so I think we had Berserk on an Esper, right?
Yeah, one of my party members learned it. I'm gonna find out who here in just a moment after I fumble through the menus. I want to say it was Realm, but could be wrong about that.
So I may have been mistaken. This Magi Master is giving us the business a little bit. Yeah, Magi Master is a science. A lot of bosses in Ultros League's type flags or flags that kind of revolve are based around Ultros League. Magi Master is the biggest obstacle. Even more so than the final boss, in my opinion, because it's a blanket. Did I find the things to handle him, or did I not? You can know every rage, every steel table. You can be able to list to start all 14 characters in their order of who has the highest stamina to the lowest, and none of that matters if the seed did not give you the correct things to deal with Magi Master. You just don't beat them.
Yep.
So with that in mind, Berserk straight up. Berserk's one of those things where like, I almost treat Berserk like a high tier spell because it empowers me, because it knows now that I know now that I have the toughest obstacle in the game solved. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and it's a little weird because it's useful for basically just this fight and a handful of dragons, but it just instantly solves the encounter.
Yeah.
Like you use Berserk, like you saw, he did nothing to me.
Yeah. One day I want to make a flow chart that starts with, do I have Berserk? And if it says no, then save often. And if it says yes, then it says, am I divisible by 5? And if it says no, then it says never save, because I'm going to ask myself, like if you're not level 5 and you have Berserk, or even if you have Reflect, then it becomes that. I always try to ask myself, like, can I beat Poltergeist right now with this party? And if I can beat Poltergeist, then there's nothing out there that is going to stand between me and victory in a fight, except just stupid trolly RNG, to the point that's probably like, sub 0% chance of it happening. And that involves things that, like, even things you can control, like, over queuing up Exxon and not waiting for overflow or a phantom train to act. That's something you can prevent. You just wait 2 seconds for them to act, and then they don't overqueue. If you have that little flow chart, or that little hypothetical flow chart, you should feel really emboldened to cut out all these chests, really get going. Not Esper Shuffle, not anything that you could view that is not involves you moving towards the next objective, next check, or getting in the game faster can kind of be cut out.
I did pick up a Yeti.
Yeah, Possum mentioned a great port that Skycap does Megazerk. The thing with Megazerk is that it's relying. You did get Yumaro. Beautiful. Let's put him in the active party. Now, what are you doing? No.
No.
Megazerk's
good.
Megazerk's annoying because it has to target him, and his stupid high evade comes in. It also applies to the Weed Feeder, the Grasshopper, and the Incensier. Except those aren't based on physical attacks; they're just abilities that land or don't land, and that's based on his magic evasion, which is still high for a monster, but it's a far greater chance of it hitting. So if you ever in one of those if you're ever in a scenario, which probably has never happened to anybody, where you're trying to decide which rage to pick to berserk Magi Master, and you have access to Incensier, Weed Feeder, or Grasshopper, and Skycap, choose one of the stupid bugs.
So I'm just looking for sleeping bags. I have not found a single shop that sells them yet. That's all I ask, just a handful of sleeping bags. Did it. Okay.
All right, so I've stopped tracking, but Gar, your options for the next checks are Underground, for Edgar, Yumaro stuff, Mobliz, Opera House, and Zozo.
Yes.
Of those, why are you going to World of Ruin Narsh and why?
All right, so there's actually a couple different reasons why. One, there's a dragon up here. I don't necessarily want anything that he could drop. Like, again, I'll take an elemental shield or a Minerva or something like that, but he gives you a whole boatload of experience, and I would really love some experience right now. This also pushes me closer to the 22 check skip.
Ooh, that's a good...
And I know that lock is the reward for doing Umaro's check. So a lot of things just happening in the right way.
Is there a level you prefer to go in Kepka's Tower at?
Mid-30s is about when I'm comfortable doing it. You can do it lower, but you have to have the good gears. And if you don't have the good gears, yeah, you want to level up just a little bit more.
Yeah, levels are so weird because not all level 35s are created equal in Final Fantasy VI. I'm in the process of learning Jets of Time, which is the Chrono Trigger randomizer, and it's like if you're level 31, you're good, right? There's no way you're not good because you have access to all the techs. Right. In Worlds Collide, like you could tell me I'm level 31, and I'm like, great, let's go. Depending on what I do or don't have, or what I've been doing. And there's some times where you could tell me I'm level 30, 38, and like I'm screwed right now. I need to get north of 40 because of what I'm doing or what I have.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes you just don't find anything,
yeah.
right? Like your best offense is Fighter 2 or something like that, and in that case, you want to level up. Yes, it is painful, but you got to do what you got to yabba dabba do. Hanna-Barbera don't sue us.
Yeah, it's like level 35 with Illumina is just fine. Strength doesn't impact the attack formula as much as you think it would, as opposed to the magic stat. But level 35 with an Atma weapon is no bueno. You're going to be hard pressed to be able to do north of 2k damage without like a hyper wrist and a hero ring, which you don't almost always have. But like if you're level, so that kind of goes back to like all level 35s are created equal.
Yeah. And it's weird too, like you don't really want to be level 35 swinging an Atma weapon, but level 35 swinging a Ragnarok Illumina, that's fine. Level 35 swinging Valiant Knife, fine. Level 35 swinging Fixed Ice, well, you can ask Boo the Runner about that.
Yeah, we'll email him. If anybody would like to go ping him right now about that, feel free to do so. You have my blessing. Um, I,
Please do.
I want to give you some little insider information to the Mind of Glue. Um, One thing I kind of rely on, whether I chase skip or not, if I chase things like dragons for levels, is with what I found, is that like a formula for 3 characters to do 15k damage in one cycle. 15k, or will I end up doing 15k with this type of equipment with like this amount of checks I have found or not found? And reason why 15k is a nice little number. It doesn't matter if Locke is doing 9k and then Edgar and Celeste are doing 3k. 15k is a nice little number for the various cycles based on the HP pools of the various tiers of Final Kefka. 15k damage by 3 characters is always 2 cycles on everything on tier 1 and tier 2 except for Magic because they have 40k HP. It's a nice comfortable number for tier 3, and then it just gets there for tier 4. It's essentially 4 cycles, and then someone nudging them a little bit more so with during his Goner phase or whatever.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with that. I don't I don't consciously look for those numbers, but like it's kind of like when you're doing enough damage, and that just comes from experience and running seeds over and over and over again.
Yeah, it is hard to say. Like I had this Illumina where I'm going to level 37. How much is that going to do? Is that going to do 38,700 damage on the dot or 3,800? That's not really what I'm talking about. But if I have it in Illumina where and I know I'm going to fall short of the 22 check skip, I'm going to go in with like 17 or 18 checks. That means I'm probably going to go in like somewhere between 35 and 40. And I know in that scenario, without a gauntlet, with just a solo hero ring or whatever, not banking on procs, that's a comfortable recipe for 4,000 damage out of that character. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Maybe they die a turn or two and I miss out on it and I have to act a little bit more so. But that's a good starting point, and I'm not trying to say I go in there knowing exactly how much everybody's going to do, but a nice little ballpark so I can understand how long the final fight will take. Ooh, that's an egg.
Yep, and it hurts to see an egg this late, but you got to pick up the Esper when you're 19 checks deep.
All right, series pointing out they wasted a lot of time hunting offering Genji, in their opinion. I think it was you that we talked about monster boxes the other day.
Yeah. So there's 11 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the probability of getting one, then it's all evenly distributed. So 1 in 11. Those aren't great odds. I would say that it's worth it. Sometimes, you've got a Valiant Knife in your inventory, right? So it's not horrible to try and look for it, but I wouldn't really go out of your way. So the monster in a box in Narsh, for example, it's definitely defensible to take a look there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attacking with Realm for some reason. Otherwise, just leave it alone.
Yeah, and there's, depending on your thoughts on PM Stalkers and your chance at some Robas, there's really 2 highly desirable monsters in the monster box. It's Gigantos and the Katana Soul. So it's 1 in 5.5 that you're going to open a monster box and not be disappointed. So you have the first part. My general stance is, do I have the first part of an offering combination, and that's the Valiant Knife, and maybe to a lesser extent in some more cooler flag sets, fixed dice, and somebody that can wear them. Do I have the first part of the equation? Was I blessed with the fixed dice in the chest, or did I get, a Valiant Knife from a dead check in Celeste's basement or whatever? In that scenario, I'm more inclined to do monster boxes. Also having access to a noise blaster kind of, leans me more towards yes. So it's, if you don't have the first part of that equation, there exist a lot of scenarios, and I've watched a lot of Worlds Collide, and I've seen a lot of runners do that often enough where they find the offering, and they never, find the other part of the equation, and that's just a bummer. So if your goal is to cut down your average times, if your goal is to consistently, compete, if you put 2 runners of equal skill and you brace them 100 times, the runner that is making conscious decisions, like, you know, not to chase monster boxes, I think will finish faster more often than not. Or that average time will be just a little bit slower if they're making decisions like that. And there will always be outliers where like the monster box and Gigantos are in Katana's, Nourish and then Imperial Camp and you start with 7 or whatever. Those outliers will always exist, and that's, you know, a big old whatever.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do PB hunt, or if you're just, you know, trying to experiment, or if you're just playing just to play and want to do it, that's perfectly fine. You know, if you're gonna, you know, PB hunt, you're gonna need some RNG to go that way. So there's nothing wrong with taking chances. Like get a free offering, get a free VK, solve the seed, and see if the RNG blesses you and you go 12 out of 12 on the requirements and gives you a shot at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if like your end goal is to, you know, run an 8-week Ultros League and to consistently put the lowest possible times that you can, then you kind of want to duck decisions that lend itself to RNG to whether it favors you or not the best you can.
Yeah. Generally speaking, play the odds.
Yeah. And don't push the odds too. Like if you found Gigantos in the Narsh monster box, your odds now of the next monster box being beneficial to you, extremely beneficial to you, are now 1 in 10. So like know when to hold or know when to walk away from the craps table.
Yep, 100%.
Yes. All right, so 22 check skip going on. Gar, I don't care about you anymore. I think you got the seed solved. Let's focus on the rest of the way.
That's a way to say it.
All right. So let me loop everybody in on Ceres's tracker situation. They are at 9 and 8. They are just hunting down one more Esper. Gar, her options right now are both of Gauss checks, Phoenix Cave, Tunnel Armor. Looks like she's picking Tunnel Armor, Opera House, and then all of Terrace checks except for Sealed Cave.
Okay. Yeah.
Where are you going with that situation?
Well, you've got a peekable check in. You got a peekable check in Mobliz, so that's probably where I'm starting. It's a little bit of a bummer because, like, I'm assuming that she's doing the physical offense like I'm doing.
Yeah.
So you want all of your physical offensive people to get levels, but you kind of just have to go, and that's your best odds. So.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't have because we're swinging the Luminos and Ragnaroks. We don't. Those are obviously fantastic, but again, it's one of the weird situations where the power of the berserk spell would solve the problem of that nice Esper immediately for us. But no, I like this. Maybe it's just my stance, but I've been burned by Mobliz probably more than any other check. And not because it was or wasn't an Esper, because I get in awkward situations where it blows away the wrong character, or it blows away like the Berserk character in its Magi Master, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I personally would like you do what they're doing right now. Do the quick check. Do South Figaro Cave. Maybe give Magi Master another shot if find something else, and then do Mobliz. So I would personally do exactly what we're doing right here.
I don't know. I like my peekables at the end, but yeah, like there's not really a right answer. Well, there's not really a right answer. There's definitely a wrong answer.
Yeah,
don't do Phoenix Cave if you can help it.
Yeah, the right answer is go to where the Esper is, but unfortunately, it requires a spoiler log.
Yeah, just know.
Yeah.
Just know. Acquire the gift of clairvoyance.
All right, so series is at 20 checks. We're gonna go do the Opera Dragon here, and then I assume go do one more check some way somehow. Gar, if you had 20 checks and you needed 2 more checks for 22 check skip, are you doing the Opera and the Atma spot? Are you doing Atma and then straight into the Gold Dragon spot?
Atma into Gold Dragon, I think, is a little bit better. Because like basically once you get done with Toilet Atma, it's the hop, skip, and a jump uh to that dragon.
Okay. Sirius is bringing up a great point, and I don't know how to count. They have 9 characters, so they already have skip, so this is just a level grab.
Oh well. Yeah, easy money.
I was gonna brag that when back in, was it season 5, they introduced the 21 check skip, and I like timed this. I think I timed this like 3 or 4 times just to get it down. But like the Opera Dragon and Atma is like technically 15 seconds slower on average than doing the Atma and the Dragon spot.
Yeah. And like sometimes the Opera House Dragon will cough up something that you could really use, but again, you're playing the odds there. So generally speaking, do the fastest things that you can.
Mm-hmm. And that's
and go ahead.
That's one of those things where it's like a real fringe edge case. So unless you play with a stopwatch in your right hand, trying to figure all that stuff out, it's okay not to know that, and it's like, again, it's real fringe. And there's nothing that says there's not a Rex Soul that you just don't have a cool quick to deal with in that spot that makes you regret that decision. But just going with the law of averages, that exact scenario, which doesn't apply here. I was just trying to brag on myself, but again, I can't count to 9.
That's fine. I will actively go and get skip even if I already have it, because I'll have like 9 characters and 12 espers, and I'm just so locked in on getting 22 checks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely been some times where like chasing the 20, like there's been some like at 19, so I'm thinking, oh man, I go do the Opera and then the middle 2 for 20, 20 and 21, 22 checks or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, I could just go like try to find character number 9 real fast. I have like 5 peekables that are convenient, but like, nope, check skip.
Yep.
All right. Good news is that Cerise has found Doomgaze. They know where Magi Master is. We've already killed Poltergeist. This party composition is honestly a no-brainer. Like, there's no way you could bumble this party composition. The only thing that would stand between you and victory is a single target Goddess with an Illumina, and I think we already fought Goddess, right?
No, we have not found Goddess.
Okay.
I didn't find Goddess anyway. I don't know if she did or not, but at that point you have to hope no procs, no love token.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I always mess up my who is in my party when I climb. So I always write it down. I still mess it up sometimes, but the odds of that happening are a lot lower if you write it down.
All right, this is something that took me a while to identify, but I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think her realm had access to X Zone. And obviously we're singing an Illumina against Ghost Train. That's perfectly fine. That's going to get through the fight. But X Zone, you don't have to watch the crack pow animation, which is a few seconds. It's obviously a chance to one-shot it. So I call it action economy or battle economy. You may call it something else, or some actual speedrunners who know what they're doing may call it something that sounds a lot better. But it's basically identifying your fastest way through a battle. So we had, I think it was 3 Illumina swings plus some Pearl cast by Gogo. Okay, maybe we didn't have Exo. Never mind, I'll shut up.
I was about to say, I don't remember seeing that, but...
Okay. I take it all back. But the point, it doesn't apply there for the point, but it is an acquired skill, and it took me a very long time to realize this. That like quickly identifying your fast way through a battle is like probably the most underrated skill you can have, and it just comes with time. And it also comes with effort, in that you have to almost always be thinking. There's 41 bosses that can be shuffled into a spot in Worlds Collide that where you would expect to, I'm making air quotes, but fight a boss, so to speak. So always thinking, what do I have? What pops up as soon as something pops up? What is my fastest way through that? What is the damage I can do with this that this is weak to? what will not work, who should not be acting in this exact scenario. Those answers to those questions will differ between fights. You will come across some scenarios where, like, Dataluma in this four-person fight on God's screen, I would argue Realm does not need to act. Swing the Lumina, swing the Ragnarok. Don't let Realm cast Fire 3. Whereas it may be the reverse if we came across Haydn. Then Realm needs to act. Then Realm needs to cast Fire 3. The Ragnarok Swinger does not need to swing. Just the Illumina Fire 3. Because if Flare procs, he's not weak to Flare. Nothing's weak to Flare. I know it ignores defense, but it's a long animation. Whereas it's not going to do 9999.
Flare does have uses, but generally speaking, you don't want to cast it.
But it's always in a revolving door, and it predicates on not only knowing, like, what every boss is weak to. It also predicates knowing what character stats, how do those work out. You don't need to know in the vanilla game that Terra, I think it's 39 magic power is what she starts with. But you need to know that, like, Terra magic, Celeste and the weapon, this is about what they can do, this is what I can expect. And things that, like, Tritok has no magic defense, so even a Fire 2 from, like, a Mog that happens just to be sitting there that you were banking on supporting, in scenarios needs to come out and things like that, because that's your fastest way through that fight. No magic power. My lone character with Fire 2 in this exact scenario with one earring is going to do my most damage. I need to do that instead of letting the person just swing the fixed dice over and over again and hoping things go well. Guard, do you have access to a mute?
I do.
Okay.
I learned it from Slotmaster. I don't know which. Doesn't really matter.
All right, we got one more statue fight for series. And it's Dataluma.
Too easy.
Easy peasy.
Do you ever add the lemon squeezy to the end of that?
I do not. Down here in Texas, that is not a thing we do. Is that something that we do up north?
So I'm from Georgia, and that was definitely a Georgia thing.
That could be because isn't Georgia technically the peach state? So maybe that's a citrus type thing.
Peaches, 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 peaches. I don't really like peaches, just by the by.
Yeah.
More trivia for your Gar facts.
Not even canned peaches, because canned peaches are far better to me because you can cook them into various things as opposed to fresh peaches.
They were put there by a man in a factory downtown.
Alright, Chico, Chadius doing some Narapa discussions about Reflect and the various things. That also kind of like goes back to, for your action economy, if you're always thinking about those things, I've found, like, when I'm running from check to check, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, those random edge use cases, like I kind of like role play, like if I fight Narapa right now, what do I have? Well, I have Sword Tech 3, and I have this one Thunder Shield, and I have access to Doom. Do I want to make the conscious decision that this Thunder Shield goes to save this time in this fight, or do I want to, try to bounce some Dooms in there? Do I want to Sword Tech 3 and then swing through it? Do I really want to lose this Thunder Shield? Things like that, like when I'm running between checks, when I'm in try hard mode or whatever you want to call it, are always going on in the back of my mind. Gar, by the way, Chadius is requesting if you could send him some of your peaches.
That's not safe for work.
Okay. All right. Pop quiz, Gar. Is there anything on tier 1 that can do an AoE attack that's not a death counter?
Nope.
Nope. So.
Well, kind of. Oh, it's not a death counter. No. Nope.
Yeah. And I'm gonna plug Schwantz's lovely creation right now. But I think the most important thing to the final battle is being able to hone in on the boss scripts. Uh, Funny thing about Chupon is Chupon's boss script is probably the easiest one to remember in the game. On turn one, he attacks you 100% of the time, and turn two, he has a 1 in 3 chance of doing fireball or a regular attack, and then it just repeats, right? And again, you have to be a sick individual to know that off the top of your head, but whatever. But I would say that if you want to consistently produce fast times, consistently not get walled in Worlds Collide, knowing the final Kefka boss scripts and how they work and what they can do for you and what they cannot do to you is probably the most important thing, because it's the one constant. Like 99 out of 100 flags you will play will have unscaled Kefka selected. So it's always the same fight. It's always consistent. All the different variables that can exist on your side more often than not, depending some weird RNG. But if you know those scripts, you know the weird possible scenarios of the weird RNGs and when they can happen to you. And that's one of those things why I asked, like, there is no AoE attack that can come out on tier 1 except for Quake, and that's the death counter for a head. And most people know that Quake is, bad, death counter, kill him, don't kill him last, kill him first or second, right? But they're not really cognizant of what else is coming out of them. And I see a lot of very good runners too also not be aware of who is casting Delta Force on tier 2 or Delta Hit, which piece is casting End Cross on me, which piece is casting Muddle. They just kind of come out and we're not really sure.
Right. I was going to say something and then I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I think that happens the most painfully on tier 4. There are spots in the back half of the fight in tier 4 where you are perfectly safe, even though you may have characters with low HP or other things going on. And if you're not aware of the script, you're not aware of how safe you are or aren't. You're just, all you know is I have characters with low HP, I need to panic. And they do things like try to attack or try to finish when A, they were nowhere in a position to do it, and B, they were perfectly safe. They didn't have to do that altogether.
Right.
Yeah, Chatty is making a great point. Tools is the one that casts Delta Hit. But like more often than not, you insta-death him, or he has the lowest HP of any part of Final Kefka except for tier 3, so usually he's dead. So he never gets it off.
Yeah. I have noticed a lot of people that do get flustered with Final Kefka. I mean, sometimes it just happens, right? Yeah. But like if you know how much HP he has, 62,000, if you know where in his script he is, then you're actually reasonably safe.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, Goner kills somebody that you don't expect, and then Double Havoc Queen comes out, and you're kind of up the creek. But
yeah,
normally it's pretty predictable. The tiers are more unpredictable than he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are turns in the back half of the fight where he can't double Havoc Wing you. And there are turns where you can know exactly what he's going to do, and that's Revenger. But if you're not aware of those, then that's when you do things like, well, I need to break this Thunder Shield now, and then, well, you break the Thunder Shield, and you were nowhere near finishing the fight. All you had to do was wait for him to go in the Goner, and then you can comfortably act again and use that time to recover. But if you don't know that, you don't know that, so you're always operating blind. So going back to what I was going to plug, Schwantz has fixed his already wonderful practice command tool. If you go into Seedbot, well, obviously, or you can PM Seedbot, or do it in any channel if you just do the exclamation point practice. Grab that seed that it spits out to you. Talk to the airship pilot. You're going to be on the airship, and there's going to be a lot of weird things right there. But talk to the airship pilot and practice the final fight. Like, go through it. Like, if you think about professional football players, professional golfers, figure skaters, or whatever, a professional basketball player doesn't only, LeBron James doesn't only wake up every day and say, all right, I'm going to go play a 48-minute basketball game, and that's how I'm going to get better. And he hasn't been doing that for the past, however long he's been playing in the NBA or whatever. He doesn't do that every day. He practices, he works out, he works on skills, he does individual drills. You do that in other sports, you do that in golf. Artists don't just wake up and paint every day. Our professional artists, they fine-tune some things, they learn. Go grab that practice command, practice the final boss and just learn, play through it, experiment with it. Um, if you don't want to do that with the other bosses, I understand, but I think Final Kefka is definitely the most pertinent and the one where that can pay most people the most dividends, because you would be surprised with how little you can get through Final Kefka when you know what's going on, or how many times you would see someone commit an action or suffer a bad fate when it was entirely avoidable just because they weren't aware what was coming.
Right. Uh, and again, a lot of it just comes down to practice.
Hmm.
And like because you really want to take note of a Final Kefka's battle script, and including the tiers, just because like I spent like 9-ish minutes, 8-ish minutes just on that single fight.
Hmm.
Uh, it's really easy to mess up, and uh, I know that when I first started, I had a lot of difficulty with it, and a lot of my runs ended at Final Kefka because like tier 3 would mess me up, or uh, sometimes tier 2 would mess me up. Sometimes tier 2 still messes you up. Uh, Shout outs to Zombie Tusk.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then like a lot of the bosses basically don't do anything, and or their script doesn't matter. But Final Kefka definitely does. There's a handful that you would benefit from learning from. Magi Master is a really good example of that. You can
Hmm.
cast a spell on him and negate a big challenge of the fight, and that spell is not berserk.
You're talking about Reflect, right?
I am talking about reflect.
Oh, beautiful. But no, the cool thing about the practice command is that if you go, I forget where you go, but you can also go to a room. I think it's the Imperial Banquet Room, and all of the boss sprites are lined up right there. And if you talk to them, guess what? Uh, you get to fight that boss. So you can practice on various bosses. You can practice on Magi Master. You can practice on just about any boss. But I think the most far down is the most important one is Final Kefka. The reason for that is because if you haven't downloaded Stats Collide or used Parallel Stats Collide, the average runner will spend like over 30 minutes in battles. And if you think about it, you just mentioned you had a 9-minute Kefka fight. 9 minutes out of that 30 total minutes, that's like a third-ish of your entitled battle time in the menu. So if you're going to say I'm going to hone in on one thing to get it right, to do it as efficiently as possible, are the best of my capabilities, that's the one to pick. That's the one thing to hone in on from a battle standpoint,
Yeah,
or battle scripts
and
to learn.
like we've given you kind of a lot of information over the course of a seed. So if you're brand new, you might be feeling overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And what I would say to that is just take it one step at a time,
Yeah.
right? Like for every day, set a goal. Like, okay, I want to learn 20 rages. I want to get the final Kefka script down pat. And
Yeah.
just like Glue was saying, that's where Schwantz's thing comes into play.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get it all at once. Like if you have some strong vanilla knowledge, you do have a leg up over somebody who just started with the randomizer, but it's not necessary. But take it slow, take your time.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things in this game to learn, and eventually, it is you will start to get it. It
Yeah.
will start to click.
Yeah, I remember there's levels to this. Like, if you don't know that, the death counter of head is Quake, then it probably doesn't do you any good to learn the short arms battle script, which is just attack and can possibly counterattack you 2/3 of the time with an attack, right? And Cirrus has been playing for quite a while. They've advanced very quickly. They're moving on to Potion. We've even had them do some mentor sessions because they are very smart. They know a lot about the vanilla game. They've come across the randomizer really fast. And then, like, learning the battle script, that's like next level. Because, like, it doesn't matter. Like, entry level is kind of like learning where you can and can't go in Worlds Collide. The next level is kind of like learning what's weak to fire, what's weak to ice. Should I jump with an Illumina or should I not jump with an Illumina? The answer is no to that question. Unless you just are having fun, then yes. Well,
Yeah.
But like Cirrus is kind of like level 4 or 5 where they're trying to advance to Elixir and then have higher goals. And if that's like, you know, your goal, then that's kind of like, you know, kind of where you need to go next. It's like, it's cool to know Haydn is weak to fire, but like if you're gonna, you know, who can really tell you that which one of the jerks down there is the one that can zombie you?
I can. I'm not going to though, because
Yeah. Yeah, that type of information is behind a paywall, which we'll send you all the link to our next tutorial video for $9.99.
I will tell you that Possum is wrong.
Yeah,
It's
Boston.
not the back left one.
We'll give you a hint. He's to the left somewhere. But no, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I make jokes. You have to be a sick freak to know Chupon's battle script. But I've been playing Final Fantasy 6 for 30 years. And then even then, you can argue that like you've been playing it for 30 years, you think you would know everything. No, you actually don't. There's a lot to learn, and it's also like, you know, you play Worlds Collide casually. It's no big deal. There's nothing wrong with being tonic or potion or producing those type of times. It's perfectly understandable. Nobody thinks anybody is better than anybody because of the level or time they do or don't produce. We're all here to have fun, and then some people, you know, it's all lightly competitive, and if you want to appreciate the competition, like you know, if Gar beats me or if I beat Gar, I'm not going to speak for Gar, but it's no big deal if I do or don't beat Gar. He's a fantastic person. It was an honor to come in second to him in Ultros League. And I was also really bummed he couldn't finish out the Kefka Grand Prix. I think he had some work stuff come up. And either one, no big deal whether you win or lose. You can appreciate the competition and enjoy it, but nobody thinks anybody is better than anybody because of the times they do and don't produce or the capabilities they do and don't have. We're a fantastic community. And it's more about the love of the game, the love of the sport, if you will, than it is the actual individual results.
Yeah. I just like competing.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, I don't really care if I win or lose. Obviously, I prefer to win.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not gonna cry for half an hour if I lose, especially to somebody like Glue or Golden Shocker or anybody really. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it's a randomizer. Sometimes you wind up doing a quote unquote suboptimal check, and that gets you something that nobody else gets, and then you wind up, you know, coming in first place. That's just randomizer's gonna randomize.
Mm-hmm. All right, so with that, thank you, series, for allowing us the opportunity to watch your video, talk about Worlds Collide for an hour and 10 minutes and some change. I was gonna say, Gar, let's raid somebody, but you're the only person live.
Don't raid me. I'm about to go and eat some dinner. But yeah, definitely thank you, Sears, for letting me do this. It's always a pleasure anytime I get to do a VOD review. So yeah, if you've got VOD reviews, send them, or if you've got VODs that you want a mentor to review, send them in. I may not get to all of them, but I'll definitely try and do a few.
Yeah, and then again, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Gar, for joining me, and then thank you everybody that tuned in. We'll also get this highlighted for anybody who wants to watch more of it, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Y'all take care.